Chapter 91 Confrontation. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In a lavishly decorated room, 3 people were present. The elven maiden exuded a commanding presence as she sat gracefully on a chair that resembled a throne, her long silver hair adding to her ethereal beauty. Standing before her was a silver-haired boy with a face so charming that it could only be described as otherworldly, and a fair-haired beauty who radiated her own allure. Okay, so everyone here was pretty easy on the eyes, but that silver-haired boy was just on another level. I mean, we could even go as far as saying he's the most good-looking person in the entire world, no, in the whole universe. Ahem. Yes, of course, that boy was me. In front of me was my sister, Luca's sister, Yelena Morningstar, the current queen of Global Academy. She regarded me with indifference as though I were no more than a wisp of air. On the other hand, standing right next to me was Grace Goodwill, glaring at me with resentment and animosity. If given a knife, she would not hesitate to plunge it into my gut. Sigh. It's bluntly obvious that both of these maidens were trying so hard to resist my charms. TSK. Such is the life of a super hot guy like me. Anyway, turning my attention to the queen, I tried to initiate a conversation and break this awkward silence. So. Been long, right? Please refrain from talking to me. Ah, your face is so red. You're flustered from meeting your brother after so long. Yes, I'm so flustered that I might just strangle you. Okay, I think it's safe to say that she wasn't flustered. Sighing, I turned to Grace, who was still glaring at me. Oh hell nah. No matter how suffocating this silence might be, I'm not going to risk my life by talking to her. So I turned my gaze away from her and acted like she wasn't even there. But for some reason, that irked her even more. Just give me a break already. Where am I and what is going on, you ask? Remember when I first came to the academy, I said there was a modern-styled castle at the center of the 5 towering skyscrapers where our classes are held. Well, that castle serves as the dorm and office for cadet council and disciplinary committee. Right now, we were inside that castle and in Yelena's personal office. As for why we were here. Well, the reason for that would be the blonde girl standing next to me. The cadets who were killed didn't exit the VR world instantly. Instead, they came out together with the rest of their peers who were alive till the end. As soon as the mock war ended and everyone came out of virtual reality, Grace walked over to Yelena and accused me of attempting to sexually harass her. It didn't come off as a surprise since that's what she had threatened to do from the start if I interfered, which I did, by the way. What did surprise me, however, was her stupidity. I mean, she has already witnessed what I am capable of. So does she really think I can't get myself out of a situation as trivial as this? Ha! I was getting bored. I should be planning for the next event that's about to come instead of wasting my time here on her. Don't get me wrong. She is a pawn of great future value to me. However, in the end, that's all she is, a pawn. And I don't like it when my own pawns cause trouble for me. Can't we get this over with quickly? As soon as those words left my mouth, a chill ran down my spine. For a second, I regretted speaking like that in an overly casual tone. The temperature in the atmosphere quickly began to plummet, and icy cold winds started to blow even though we were inside. Do you think all this is a joke? At that moment, the long silence finally broke as the queen spoke. Keep in mind that our father is not here to protect you. Even if you're carrying our house name, your misdemeanors will not be overlooked anymore. What misdemeanors? I exclaimed with an absurd look on my face. Gur. But as another chill ran down my back, I put on an amicable smile and joined my hands together like a businessman. Only then did I dare repeat my question respectfully while mustering up the calmest possible tone. What could you possibly mean by misdemeanors, ma'am? Yelena's agitation was palpable as she exclaimed, You understand what I'm saying, don't you? You're facing sexual harassment charges, but you don't appear to have a shred of remorse on your face. I couldn't help but roll my eyes in response. I've been telling you from the beginning that she's lying. Why won't you consider my side of the story? What happened to that innocent until proven guilty thing? But are you truly innocent? Yelena asked, raising an eyebrow. This isn't the first time you've been accused of such behavior. Last time, father managed to sweep it under the rug because it was a commoner you attempted to assault. But this time it's a noble, a goodwill, no less. Your actions are immoral, foolish, and downright disgusting. I'm appalled to even think of you as my brother. As I gazed upon her, I noticed something different about Yelena. Unlike her usual aloof and detached demeanor, her face was twisted in a mixture of anger, revulsion, and remorse. Though I was aware that she wasn't truly my sister and I wasn't actually Lucas, I felt a sharp stinging pain in my chest upon meeting her gaze. Averting my eyes off her, I clicked my tongue. I took in a deep breath and was about to reply, but Yelena suddenly spoke up again. And besides, I'm very much upholding the innocent until proven guilty philosophy. I sent Dylan to collect Grace's uniform from her apartment room. Frowning, I questioned, "Oh, and what will that prove exactly?" Yelena gazed at me and declared, "In the event that we discover any evidence of your involvement on her uniform, as she has alleged, you will be subjected to expulsion from the academy. Your military education will be completed at the Union Military's Army training camp rather than any fancy military academies, and I will also strip you of our family name." I couldn't help but shake my head at those words. Union Military's training camp. Unlike private military academies like Global Academy or Ethereal Academy, Union Military's training camp is a 6-month-long training program run directly by the high-ranking soldiers Union Military. What's so bad about it, you ask? Well, aside from being situated near the border, the instructors there don't let the cadets to master the art of combat. No, they just create foot soldiers to fight the war for them, whereas the top private military academies create elite soldiers and tacticians. Even the worst of the worst who has graduated from a well-off private military academy can overpower the top fighter that the training camp has to offer. Needless to say, the training camp also doesn't provide any spell scrolls, training manuals, training equipments, or anything of that sort. Why does it exist then? Well, because not everyone can afford the ridiculously high fee that these private military academies charge. For example, Global Academy's full 4-year course is worth a whopping 97,076,800 credits, see. If I were to convert that to the currency from my Earth, then it would be around $8.0165.73.020 or something. Yes. Exactly. Even in another world, those who don't have money can't afford the right to live. If you have money, you can go to a fancy private academy and get stronger, which will raise your chances of survival. However, if you can't afford it, then you are just as good as dead meat. However, that's not something that bothered me. Money is everything. That fact has always been true despite people trying so hard to deny it even in my old world. And it's not like I was going to be sent off to the training camp. After all, Grace won't be able to prove her accusations against me. What did bother me, however, was the fact that Yelena threatened to strip off my family name. I know it shouldn't bother me since it's not even my actual family name, but for some reason it did. You can't do that. What? I took in a deep breath and clenched my fists. I said, you can't do that. You can't strip me of anything that's not related to the academy. You don't have that authority. Yelena's eyebrow twitched and nerves bulged on her forehead as she spoke. I'm a Morningstar. The one that hasn't been disowned, unlike you. I have the authority to take your surname. No you don't, I cut her off. Father is the head of the family. Only he can make this decision, and he has already done that. He let me keep my surname. Even Adele, the next head of the family, doesn't possess the authority to override father's decision. Listen here, Yelena was about to continue arguing, but right then, click. The door to the room clicked open. Chapter 92 Checkmate 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Click. With a subtle clicking, the door was swirled open. In came a boy with spiky orange hair and a long katana tied to his waist. He held a black and red jersey in his hand as he walked over to Yelena. The elven beauty turned to me and gave me a long glare. Plead guilty and beg, she commanded, crossing her legs and leaning back on her chair, which looked more like a throne than anything. You're not my brother. He is dead. But I will still give you one chance to plead guilty and beg for mercy. If you do that, I might just let you off easy. Lies. One look in her eyes and it was clear that she was lying. She had no intention of letting me go easy. A glance into her eyes and it was obvious that she had no intention whatsoever of being merciful. Even if I were to kneel before her and plead for mercy, she would scornfully say something like, "A morning star groveling like an insect. You are not worthy of that name." Furthermore, if I had truly tried to put my hands on Grace, Yelena would not have had the authority to pardon me easily. After all, despite being one of the vassals of the Morningstar family and serving under them, Goodwills are a noble house. And the Western continent can't afford a conflict between nobles right now. So if I really had done something as foolish as that, I would be receiving an appropriate punishment. I will not do such things, I declared with conviction, rejecting Yelena's proposal. Despite being not guilty, I carry the name of Morningstar House with me. I'm a noble. To beg and plead would be to lower myself to the level of a commoner, a disgrace to our family's legacy. Of course. You only use that name when you feel like it, don't you? Yelena scoffed while rolling her eyes. You think you can understand the weight that name carries? The sacrifices made by those before you to uphold its honor and dignity. You, who have shamed and tarnished it with your actions, dare to speak of its worth. Our father should have stripped you of that name the moment he disowned you. Again with this. What's her problem? It's just some big surname. I mean, I know family names are a big thing in this world, but still. I know Lucas wasn't the best example of nobility, but some of the heirs of other ruling houses and noble families aren't any better either. Is she just that upright? Believing that arguing with her was futile, I looked away with a bored expression. Tisk, clicking her tongue, Yelena ordered. Dylan, scan for any trace of this bastard on her uniform right away. Dylan nodded, placing Grace's jersey that was in his hands on a nearby table and tapping his smart bracelet. Within moments, sharp blue laser rays projected from his device and quickly started scanning it. From beside me, Grace flashed me a victorious grin. In her mind, she has already won. Bringing her head close to my shoulder, she whispered in an almost inaudible tone, I warned you to stay the fuck out of my way, didn't I? Ha! Her whole confidence was based on the fact that she had my fingerprints on her jersey from back when I caught her from a fall during the unit test. Normally, relying solely on fingerprints found on someone's clothing would not be sufficient grounds to convict them of a crime as complicated as sexual assault. I mean, what can fingerprints alone actually prove? But you must not forget I was in Lucas' body. The fact that he has already committed the offense of sexual assault in the past is enough to take the circumferential evidence against him and make the final verdict without giving him a chance to defend himself. Not to mention, the one who is accusing me happens to be a noble. And the one who's judging me is my sister who detests me. Taken together, these factors suggest that I cannot expect to receive a fair trial if any incriminating evidence were to come to light. However, Yelena, that is, if any incriminating evidence were to come to light. What? Yelena turned her gaze towards Dylan upon hearing her confused voice. What is it? There are no traces of him on this jersey. Dylan raised his hand that held Grace's jersey up and spoke. There's nothing we can use against him. Whoa. Did I hear that right? That's a weird way to frame that sentence, nothing we can use against him. It's like they really are hell-bent on trying to make me prove guilty. Instead of using words to react, Yelena turned to Grace and gave a long, questioning gaze. Grace, on the other hand, stood aghast with her mouth hanging in shock and eyes bulging out. What do you mean? She finally spoke, stuttering. That's not possible. I can't hold back. I tried but I couldn't. No. No, I must hold back. I can't laugh yet. I shouldn't laugh yet. But her expressions are so funny. Ahahaha. All the eyes in the room turned toward me and I couldn't help but burst out in a fit of erratic laughter. Yelena's face contorted as she gritted her teeth. Lucas Morningstar. Behave yourself. You're in the presence of the Cadet Council. Wiping the tears from the side of my eyes, I calmed myself down. On my right, Grace was looking at me with confusion and disbelief, her eyes practically coming out of her sockets. It's not possible. I don't know what he definitely did, but he did something. Grace started yelling as she pointed a finger at me. I'm telling you, did something. My lips pursed up into a smirk and I turned to Yelena. Do you really think someone who's on Iron Point 2? Mana Core rank, overpower and force myself on someone whose Mana Core has already reached Bronze Point 3. This isn't my home Earth. Unlike the Earth where I am from, there's no difference between the strength among genders. Men are biologically stronger than women. That fact was overridden in this world when mana started flowing here. With mana cultivation, no matter your gender, race, or birth status, you can have unimaginable strength in your grasp if you just have the talent for it. If you're blessed by the heavens, you can crush the world with a mere flick of your fingers. This is a world where strength is cultivated, not inherited biologically. No matter who you are, if your Mana Core rank is higher than a person, you are stronger than them. So while I don't want to admit it, Grace was like 3 ranks above me. It's literally impossible for me to overpower her into submission. In fact, right now, her Mana Core rank is on the same level as Quinn's. Of course, she's not as strong as him, but her mana output is the same. There's no way I can assault her like a mindless animal. That's not. Before Grace tried to initiate an argument, I tapped on my smart bracelet. And then there's this recording. Chapter 93 Checkmate 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Don't you get it? If I give that jersey to the Cadet Council and claim that you tried to sexually assault me, what will happen to you? You'll be lying. They will investigate the matter. Investigate. You already have the title of a sex offender. Do you think they'll really waste their time investigating such a crystal clear case when the evidence is against you? Your reputation will be enough to close the case. And once again, there was nothing but silence in the room. Yes, of course I had recorded my conversation with Grace on the rooftop of that building in the virtual world. As I said, she really is dumb to fall for the oldest trick in the book, not once but twice. N.N.O. Oh, she finally spoke. It's not real. That recording is doctored. That's not my voice. I never said that. Wow, really? That's the best she could come up with. If you want, we can ask the council to let Athena examine it. Surely the smartest AI in the world could tell if a voice recording is fake or not, right? I turned to Grace and suggested. There are some problems with Athena, so we'll have to wait till tomorrow to confirm anything, Yelena chipped in. So Grace Goodwill, if we find that it really was your voice in the recording, and you have wasted the council's time, then be prepared to face severe consequences for your actions. Answer me, should we proceed with the examination? I can see the feeling of despair in her shivering eyes. Her lips quivered violently and her brain tried to come up with a solution to get her out of this predicament, but to no avail. She has lost. This was my final move, my checkmate. With no moves left but to resign, Grace dropped her head. Mixed looks of disbelief, shock, and denial were visible on her face as she kept incoherently mumbling something. Smirking, I stepped closer to her and mockingly whispered, "And I told you to switch sides, didn't I?" For a second, her unfocused eyes regained some clarity, and she shot me a look of resentment. However, in the next second, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and turn her eyes to face Yelena. No. No need. Good game and well played, Grace Goodwill. In the end, you were just not smart enough. Facing Yelena myself now, I asked, is this enough proof of my innocence? This conversation is something that happened in the virtual world. You should have known about it since you had the job of monitoring us. If you didn't know about this, then you failed your job. As soon as I mentioned the fact that the council was monitoring us, Grace's face paled even more. As first-year cadets, many of us were unaware that diving into virtual reality was only allowed when monitored by either the cadet council or academy instructors in the real world. Grace was no exception and had no idea that all her actions were being spectated. Due to the mock war event being organized in a rush, only one monitoring screen was set up, with Yelena and Dylan, two of the cadet council members, being the sole observers of our time in the virtual world. Under normal circumstances, one screen with two observers would have been sufficient for such a small and straightforward event. However, when I intervened and complicated things, the situation changed, especially when I acted from behind the scenes most of the time. Yelena probably had no interest in watching me, so she only spectated strong cadets like Quinn, Nero, Alberto and others. That was her blunder. Yelena replied with silence. She had no excuses. Not only did she fail to monitor such an event, but also almost accused me of being guilty, despite my innocence. Of course, I knew better. It isn't her fault. It was me. Every single step of this event, aside from Amelia leaving her post and Nero being forced to use his gift, was predicted by me, manipulated by me. I'll take that silence as yes, I said before crossing my arms over my chest. It was now time to hammer the final nail in the coffin. Well, since you did fail your job, which resulted in me being dragged here, I expect compensation. From here, I will start to exploit Grace until she breaks and finally gives in to me. You must understand that my reputation and social standing will receive a big hit from this matter. Wiping the non-existent tears off the side of my eyes, I said. People will talk about all sorts of things behind my back. It might even affect my chances of getting into a good military unit after graduation. I could visibly see the nerves on Yelena's forehead twitching as soon as I said that. Reputation. Do you even have one? That's probably what she wanted to say to me. But holding herself back, Yelena took a deep breath and closed her eyes. What do you want? She asked. Before you ask for anything, know this, we can expel Grace but we can't blacklist her from other military academies since her father is a noble. In short, Yelena wanted to say that even if they expelled her, she wouldn't be forced to go to the training camp like I would have been. She can just switch to a different academy like Ethereal Academy. Heh. Yeah, right. As if I'll let her off that easily. I want to charge Grace Goodwill with slander, abuse of her noble authority, making violent threats, and falsely accusing a fellow cadet, I said while shrugging. Taking a dramatic pause, I let out a deep breath. From beside me, Grace clenched her fists, squeezed her eyes shut and bit her lower lip. She was on edge. Why wouldn't she be? After all, if her father were to hear about her getting expelled from the Global Academy, he wouldn't be very happy. If that's what you want, but on second thoughts, right when Yelena was about to comply, I spoke up, cutting her off. I don't want that. I'm not as heartless as her. At my words, Grace opened her eyes in shock and looked at me. Her brows were furrowed in a frown as confusion was visible on her face. Instead, I want early access to Athena. I also want whatever amount of merit points Grace will earn in the next 8 months. The look of surprise turned into that of anger when Grace realized what I was trying to do. She tried to speak up, but before she could. Slam. Ridiculous, thumping her hands on the side rests of her throne-like chair, Yelena stood up. You're just a first-year who hasn't even completed your first semester yet. What makes you think you can get access to Athena when even the top cadets in your batch don't have that? Well, I'm here because of your blunder, aren't I? Yes, but did you receive any punishment? That's because I proved my innocence before you could, Lucas. Yelena yelled out my name, causing me to flinch as a chill ran down my spine. I wasn't scared. Ahem. Definitely not scared. At most, the sudden high pitch in her voice shocked me. Yelena declared, this academy is under my control. Although there is only one person above me, I possess significant authority. If I desired to remove you from this institution and prevent you from entering any other military academy by breaking the rules, would it be difficult for me? Absolutely not. I could accomplish it effortlessly. So keep your tone down and be thankful that I decided to spare you by following the rules. Tisk. This bitch. Well, I can't blame her. The strong eat the weak, that's the truth of this world. She can do whatever she wants because she is strong. I can only keep my head down because I'm weak right now. However, one day I will pay her for this, for everything. I swear to God, I will. Also, you'll only get to take 6 months worth of credit points from her instead of 8, Yelena added. Oh, come on. This was going overboard. 6 months. As you say, ma'am. I put on a smile that would put even the best businessmen to shame and performed a short bow. TSK. I swear I'll pay her for this. But that's not fair. This means that for the next 6 months, I won't be able to buy any resources to cultivate or train. This is an assured way for me to fail my classes and get behind my peers. I beg you to, as Grace was in the middle of pleading, Yelena shot her a deathly cold glare. You should have thought about all this before. Gah. At that moment, Grace felt an ice spear piercing her heart, making her stumble and fall back. When she came to her senses, she patted her chest. There was no hole there, or an ice spear, for that matter. Did she hallucinate? She thought. Oh. I raised my eyebrows. Was that bloodlust? Yelena can't use illusion spells, so that must have been bloodlust. Damn, she's strong enough to use it already. Okay, kids, Dylan casually threw his arm in front of Yelena, giving her a look to calm down, and flashed a smile our way. I think it's time for you all to head back to your dorms. The prize for your class victory over 1.C.8 will be revealed tomorrow. Hike. Grace lifted herself up and ran out of the room. As she ran past me, I took a glimpse at her face. She was crying. Click. Ha, shaking my head, I let out a sigh before turning around and deciding to leave myself. Lucas. Right when I was at the door, Yelena's voice called me out. Turning around, I looked at her. What is it now? For a second, I could swear I saw Yelena hesitating to speak. But in the next moment, she managed to choke some words out. Do you know anything about the Morningstar family's secret art that father used to train in the back garden at our family mansion? I raised an eyebrow. I don't know anything. Why would I? As you said, I'm not your brother anymore. I died, and you guys were the ones who killed me. Without bothering to listen to her anymore, I exited the Cadet Council Vice President's personal office and closed the door behind me. Click. Chapter 94. Last peaceful evening. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The sharp sound of impact echoed through the air. Thwack. Oh God. I'm sorry, came a panicked voice. You really think an apology will get you out of this? Not a chance. You're in for a world of pain. Thwack. Gahaha. The tortured cry pierced the air. Go ahead, scream all you want. Thwack. The dull sound of a fist hitting against flesh filled the space, followed by another bestial wail of agony. And so the melody of impact and suffering-filled screams continued, repeating itself several times until finally, after 20 long agonizing minutes, the silence returned. In a brightly lit gym, a handsome young man with raven-black hair, matching eyes, and other striking features lay motionless on the pristine white tiles, staining them red with all the blood dripping down from the side of his lips. In fact, he was so still that for a moment, the woman who rendered him in this state. A seductive figure with long, alluring violet hair tied up in a ponytail and a pair of mesmerizing purple eyes that were inexplicably glowing, donning gym leggings and a sports bra. Thought she had actually killed him. It was Liz Snyder. And right now, she was in the middle of beating her protégé, Nero de Kruif, for not following her instructions. However, after using him as her personal punching bag, maybe she killed him. Although she was holding back, she was using mana to enforce her punches in order to make them as painful as possible. She considered calling the medics. Thwack. Arha. Yet, in the next moment, when she stomped her foot on him, the boy let out another scream. Never mind, he wasn't dead. In fact, he was in perfect condition. Yup, he was definitely in perfect condition. Nodding to herself, the woman started kicking him even more. Thwack, thwack, thwack. Finally, after an hour or so when the woman satisfied her rage, she threw a mid-grade healing potion at the boy on the ground. Ha! Ha! The boy grabbed it with greedy eyes as if his life depended on it, because it really did, and gulped down its contents till the very last drop. Ha! A relieved smile surfaced on his face as the pain in his body from all the beating he had received subsided, and a warm feeling engulfed him. All the broken bones, ruptured organs, and torn muscles were healed. Now he could live for a few more years before his maniac master would inevitably kill him. You idiot, Liz massaged her eyebrows and closed her eyes with a sigh. Maybe she has gone a bit overboard. Now she was feeling sad. However, no matter how much she thinks about it, she can't help but worry about her protégé's future. After all, despite her several warnings, he revealed an unfathomable godlike power to the world. She couldn't even begin to imagine how many people would come after him, seeking to claim that power for themselves. Just thinking about it makes her want to punch Nero right in his stupid face. Get up, she yelled while fixing her knuckle gloves. Or do you wish to train even more? No ma'am. As if springs were attached to his legs, Nero shot up and stood straight in an attentive manner instantly. Now tell me, Liz turned to her protégé. Are you perhaps stupid? I don't think so, Nero frowned while stroking his chin. Even if my intelligence stat is not high, it couldn't be said to be low either. I didn't mean it in a literal sense, you idiot. Oh. Tisk. Clicking her tongue, Liz couldn't help but massage her forehead again. Nero just knew how to get under her skin. After a few seconds of deep breaths to barely restrain herself from kicking Nero to death for real this time, Liz finally started talking. Why did you use your gift during the mock war, despite my repeated warnings? I used it because I was about to lose. That's not a valid excuse. It was just some stupid mock war to resolve some stupid class dispute. It wasn't a matter of life and death. Even if you had lost, it wouldn't have had much significance. So, why did you do it? Nero took a deep breath. Yes, of course he knew it wasn't some life or death matter. Revealing a gift as strong as his would only bring him troubles, he knew that. Why did he do that, then? I didn't want to lose. What? Nero's eyes blazed with fury as he locked his gaze with Liz's. I used my gift because I didn't want to lose. No, I refused to lose. Everything I've endured, all the pain and suffering, it would all have been for nothing if I hadn't emerged victorious there. He clenched his fists, his voice trembling with emotion. Why did I push myself through hell if I was just going to lose like some pathetic weakling? Liz couldn't find the words to argue with him any further as she watched him with a gaze full of worry and concern. A troubling expression formed on her face as she thought about what Nero would have been going through emotionally during the mock war. She knew her protégé didn't like to lose. Since the day he saw his mother getting murdered in front of his eyes, realizing he was too powerless to do anything, Nero swore to get stronger. And every time he failed, every time he lost and fell, his drive to become stronger only grew. He kept standing on and moving forward no matter what obstacle he faced. He was an ever-growing monster in a cage. At one point, the cage became too small for him and he broke out. Liz knew Nero couldn't be oppressed. If you try to push him down, he'll only push back harder and spring up stronger. Right now, he's at a point where he would do anything to get stronger, to not lose. Truth be told, it scared Liz. It scared her to think that in search of power, Nero might lose his way and stumble upon a dark path. However, she also knew that out of everyone in the world she had met, Nero possessed the kindest heart. Although at a glance, it might seem like he yearns for revenge on his father, deep down, he only wants justice for his mother's death. Yes, she couldn't argue with him. But she could at least try to console him. Nero, you don't always have to win. The pain you've gone through, or will go through, will stay with you forever. If you keep searching for a purpose in it, you'll never be able to truly live your life. Your mother would want you to move on. Doesn't matter what she would have wanted, does it? Nero shot back, his eyes heavy and his gaze averted. She's dead. And the person who killed him is out there, living his life as if the life he took meant nothing. Ha! Nope, she couldn't even console him. Nodding her head, Liz let out in a defeated tone, okay, we'll talk about this later. Let's pack up and head home for now. Aha! Nero nodded back and turned around before walking up to his gym bag. He took off the black tank top that he was wearing to change into a T-shirt, revealing his bare back, which was full of cuts and scars. As Liz watched his back, a concerned sigh escaped her lips again. As it happened, she couldn't help but blame herself for what happened in the virtual world during the mock war. Had she taught him a high-grade spell and combat art like he was asking her to for the last few weeks, he wouldn't have had to resort to using his gift. She had read Alberto's file. Although that guy's gift, enforcement, was strong, it is not something that Nero would have trouble defeating if he were to use his sword art. The only reason he had so much trouble is that Nero can't use Mana Blade yet. That and he doesn't have a weapon that can withstand his powerful spells and arts. Well, I think it's about time to give him a strong weapon, she muttered under her breath. Did you say something? No. Come on, let's go. Aha. With that, Liz headed toward the exit. But before she even took a few steps, she remembered something. Oh, by the way, she said and turned to Nero. Did anyone's performance catch your eye during the war? Nero frowned at that unexpected question before stroking his chin. Yeah, I mean, since it ended, only 2 people are on my mind. Oh. Liz raised an eyebrow. Who, tell me? Quinn Darkstar and Lucas Morningstar, Nero replied instantly as if he had been waiting to discuss this. The frown on Liz's face only grew deeper at that answer. What? I mean, I can understand Quinn, but why Lucas? Did he perform that badly? Quite the contrary, Nero shook his head. I had high expectations from Quinn, but he barely contributed anything in the battle. And in the final battle, he went back to the base without even fighting. Oh, that reminds me, I have to punish him. Wait, he went back to the base? Liz asked, confused. Disregarding your orders. Why? I don't know, Nero shook his head. I didn't even get to see the necromancy spell that he's famous for. Well, not everyone is stupid enough to reveal their strongest ace in something stupid as a mock war, Liz mocked, to which Nero only rolled his eyes. Anyway, what about Lucas? Despite the setback in his plan during the last battle, Nero couldn't deny that Lucas had accurately predicted more than half of the events that occurred in the mock war. At last, all he could say was, "It's like he can predict the future. He's a monster." Achoo! Did I catch a cold? Damn it. I don't like suffering from colds. Especially the sore throat that comes with it. I'd rather be diagnosed with cancer than suffer from that sore throat. But if I really am going to be sick, I should go out and buy some medicine. TSK. And here I thought I would get to rest this evening. I mean, today is the last time I'll get to rest in a while, since the upcoming few months are going to be hectic now that the first arc is over and the main story is starting. So I thought I should make use of what little peaceful time I have left by getting as much rest as possible. Ha! Such wishful thinking. Ding! And then there is this matter. As I lay on my bed, in front of me, a blue translucent holographic screen was being projected out from the smart bracelet in my hand. On the screen, the messaging app was opened. In the chat history, someone shared their GPS map location with me. Below that they also sent a message. == Quinn Darkstar. Come to this location or else I'll come to you. == Yeah, so. No matter how many times I read it, it sounds like a threat, an angry threat at that. TCH. But what choice do I have other than going? I mean, I can be a coward and not go. But I would have to face him tomorrow in class. Nah, it's better to do this outside the class. Letting out a lazy sigh, I sat up straight on my bed. There goes my last peaceful evening. Chapter 95, Meeting with the Necromancer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shoo, cold gusts of wind. Setting sun beyond the blurry horizon. Tombstones marking the graves everywhere. The smell of death in the air. Such is the scenery around me. Yes, the location where Quinn wanted to meet me was not some cafe or restaurant but a graveyard. Yes, I put meet in quotation because I doubt we'll have a peaceful chat here. I mean, I get that he's a necromancer and all, but this is too on the nose, not to mention dramatic. For protection, I have my null attribute light arrows with me. Yes, the very same ones which I used in VR. And I also have my armor. So I don't think I'll die instantly if he were to attack me right here. Of course, the question is, will he attack me? Fweesh. Suddenly, cold chills ran down my spine. My throat dried up, and my heart raced as I felt my skin crawl. I knew this feeling very well. It's something that acts as our instinctual defense mechanism, telling us to flee or fight immediately. It was the feeling of fear. It was the feeling of death trying to embrace me. Slowly, I turned around. I saw dozens of eerie creatures made entirely of shadows inhabiting the graveyard. I was surrounded. I was surrounded by the souls of the dead given form by shadows. You call me here and you come late. The creatures of shadow made way for their creator. A boy with short, messy black hair appeared amidst the crowd of shadow creatures, slowly walking his way toward me. An ominous aura oozed off his figure, but his face remained unchanged. With empty black eyes akin to a deep dark abyss, he came face to face and stared down at me. Wait, is he taller than me? Just a couple of inches, I guess. Do you have your armor on under that clothing? He asked, pointing at my chest with his chin. I was wearing a thin black shirt. It was unbuttoned until my collarbone. If I had something underneath it, he would be able to see it. So why did he ask? Is he stupid? Last time you seemed to have conjured it out of thin air, Quinn spoke. Is it a compact relic that can change shape and size? Ah, so that's what he means. Yeah, I shrugged. You can call it that. Why do you ask? Do you plan to make me use it? Depends, he replied. On what? I asked. Cling. On you, he answered, taking out one of his daggers from the belt on his waist. Answer me truthfully, and I will let you live. So you plan to kill me? I scoffed. Remember what happened last time when you tried to do that? All I remember is you pulling some cheap tricks to fight me like a coward. Quinn bared his teeth like a dog. But what will you do now? I called you on my turf this time. You have no traps here. I couldn't help but smirk as I heard him. Cheap tricks, you call them? Sure. How do you know I haven't set up any traps here? Stop bluffing. Quinn barked out. Oh, okay. I raised my hand with a smile on my face. But you still can't kill me. Aside from the fact that you have to break my nigh-impenetrable defense, our smart bracelets can send out a distress call to the cadet council and instructors if our heart rate stops. And there could also be witnesses nearby. Ha! Quinn let out a scowl. Do you know what this place is? I frowned and looked around. Ah, a graveyard. I know this is Outer District 21, but why is there a graveyard here? These graves belong to the cadets who graduated from this academy and went on to become soldiers in the Union military, Quinn started to explain. They were all orphans who had no one in their lives. Somehow, they managed to earn enough money or find wealthy sponsors to support them in attending this academy. Upon their passing, the academy carries out their wish to claim their body and bury them here, among their comrades, their family. I see, I said while raising an eyebrow since I was genuinely impressed. Quite touching. I knew that by the way. Of course I didn't know that. This stuff wasn't mentioned in the novel. Or was it mentioned, and I just skipped the info dumps? Anyway, attaining the financial means to enroll in the top military academy in the world or acquiring a sponsor so you can do that as an orphan requires an incredible level of talent. I mean, even in my old world, how many people can say they attended their dream college with little to no financial backing from their parents or guardians? So yeah, it's safe to assume that all of these people were probably high-ranking soldiers in their time. But Quinn's head shook in dissent. It's not touching, it's tragic, he said. The fact that they have to fight in wars is tragic alone, but to secure their survival in these wars, they need to spend money. They shouldn't be required to do any of this. Why can't they live a regular life? Why can't any of us live a regular life like those bastards who can't use mana? We are mere children, for heaven's sake. We didn't start this, nor did we ask for any of this. And the most terrible thing is that unlike in the past, this war isn't being fought for trivial reasons such as land, wealth, or fighting against oppression, prejudice, or injustice. No, this time we're fighting for our survival, so there's no one to blame. All we can do is just keep on fighting and hope to make it out alive so that we can retire and put this burden on the next generation. This world is just so cruel. Yeah. This is awkward now. I didn't expect him to give me such a lengthy speech about the tragic world condition at all. Should I say something? I should say something. But what should I say? Damn it, it's been so long since I spoke that if I try to say anything now, it'll be even more awkward. No, anything would be better than this awkward silence. Come on, you dumbass. Say something. Say anything. So finally mustering up the courage to break this awkward silence, I spoke. So what do you think about pink handcuffs? What? What does that question even mean? What do you think about pink handcuffs? The fuck does that mean? Arg. I'm an idiot. Or maybe Kent's idiocy is rubbing off on me. Anyway, my point is, thankfully, Quinn ignored my remark and began speaking again. Since these are the graves of the orphans, no one comes here to visit them. So you mean to say that if you kill me here, no one will witness anything? I asked. Exactly, a blood-curdling grin formed on Quinn's lips. By the time the cadet council or the instructors will arrive here, you'll be dead. And I'm pretty sure from this range I can cast a spell fast enough to kill you before you can use your relic. Yeah, good plan, but we've had this talk before, I shrugged. If you kill me, the Cadet Council will know about her, about Shia, Eddie et, and that's why I'm hoping we won't have to resort to that, Quinn responded calmly. Answer my questions truthfully, and I'll let you live. No, no. Don't try to go back on your words now, I raised and shook my index finger. Remember our bet. We agreed that if I defeat you, you will become my ally. Oh, and guess what? I did defeat you. You said pawn, not ally. Quinn gave me a scornful look. What? You said I'll have to be your pawn, not an ally. What? How could I ever? I'm pretty sure I said ally. As nerves bulged on his forehead, Quinn took in a few long deep breaths to calm himself down. Seems like he was barely holding himself back from hitting me. Hee hee. Okay, maybe it's not a good idea to pester a necromancer when his shadow slaves have me surrounded from all sides, but hey, I can't help myself. Besides, I could swear I said ally and not pawn. Ahem. Anyway. I'll decide whether I want to work with you or not after I hear you out, Quinn said, massaging his eyes. He then removed his hand from his face, revealing a mad glint in his eyes. Of course, if your answers don't satisfy me, I'll give your name to Kai Wiseman. I frowned. Kai Wiseman. Is he already after me? The mock war only ended today. I expected him to make a move soon, but didn't this it would be fast. It's fine though. This doesn't interfere with my future preparations. I'll move as I had planned and ignore Kai for now until I get strong enough. But to do that, I'll have to shut this guy's mouth. If you don't know him, ask around. He is furious that some mysterious person has ruined his plans. Although he hasn't discovered your identity yet, I could just tell him about you any time I want. If you think you're smart, it's because you have never met him, you don't know what that guy is capable of. For a second, I saw a tint of fear in Quinn's eyes. Fear. Why would he, Quinn Darkstar the Calamity Bringer, need to fear some run-of-the-mill side villain like Kai Wiseman? No, I must be seeing things. Shaking my head, I dismissed such stray thoughts and agreed. Fine, I said to Quinn. Ask your questions. Chapter 96 Questions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How did you know about Shia? I knew this question was coming. And unlike the last time, I can't shrug it off. I have to answer him. But what should I say? I read a novel in which you were a major antagonist. Then the author of that novel killed me, and I reincarnated here in this world as Lucas. Surely I can't just say it like that, right? Not only is it not believable at all, but it also sounds stupid. Sighing, I began to reply. I have my sources to get information. Lies. Quinn exclaimed in discontent. No one should know about Shia's true identity as a turned vampire. To anyone else, she should look like any of my normal shadow slaves. And yet, I know about her, I replied. So clearly someone knows about her. And that someone supplied me with this information. Who is it? Who is the person who gave you this information? Quinn questioned. Good, he's buying my lies. Nope, I shook my head. I can't tell you anything about him. If I do, he'll do more than just take my life. Seeing me firmly reject his query, Quinn clicked his tongue. I'll have you answer my question one way or another. But for now, answer my second question. How did you beat me? With clear hesitation in his voice, he asked. What do you mean? I frowned, confused. In the mock war, how did you beat me? I was even more confused. Dude, you were fighting me. You should know how I beat you. Quinn pressed a hand on his forehead as if he was dealing with a mentally challenged 9-year-old kid. He repeated his question in a slow and annoyed tone. How did you know I was the traitor? How did you beat me? It seemed as if you knew about everything that was going to occur in our battle beforehand. For example, you strategically placed those small flashing marbles that momentarily blinded me and left me stunned in the building, where we ended up fighting long before the actual fight began. Do you possess the ability to see the future? Is that your gift? Oh, so that's what you mean. I replied, clapping my hands together in understanding. No, I don't have a powerful and not to mention unique gift like future sight. But I can let out a strong burst of magical energy from my body and create a mana explosion. You remember when I created that Azure Blast, and we fell to the bottom floor during the fight? That was my gift, Mana Burst. Quinn was even more confused than before. Then how did you know I was the traitor and all the moves I would make? I planned and predicted everything, I replied matter-of-factly. I had a hunch that you were the traitor since you were acting suspiciously. It was a hunch derived from logical reasoning, a deduction with no proof, you can call it. You didn't object to Nero becoming the commander for the mock war. I don't remember you objecting to any of his orders either. You're the type of person who wouldn't follow an incompetent leader on the battlefield. And while Nero is strong, he is not a leader. Oh, and do you remember in the cafeteria when Nero used his bloodlust and choked nearly every person who was present there to death? You had a look of jealousy on your face then. But aside from that, you didn't kill even one enemy cadet during the war. Quinn looked taken aback. It was clear that he couldn't believe he was outsmarted in a head-on battle by a sheltered, rich noble boy. And to think I was also able to observe the changes in his expression amid that chaos. Of course, he was a little skeptical. After a moment or two, he finally asked, you confronted me based on these random hunches. Well, yes, I admitted. But it was a calculated risk based on my observations and analysis of your behavior. And as for the marbles, I strategically placed them beforehand, knowing that they would be useful in disorienting you during our fight. Then, I purposely led you to smash me into that building with your spell so that I could use those marbles, subtly manipulating the flow of the battle. It was all part of my plan. Quinn's body shuddered for a second, and his breathing became erratic. He then shook his head and said, no, it was more than that. Those light enchanted arrows. You had them in your smart bracelet, meaning you brought them with you knowing you'll have to fight someone with an affinity for darkness. I nodded and replied, well, yeah. As I said, you started acting suspiciously before the mock war even started. I just took some necessary preparations based on my hunch. Quinn looked surprised and asked, wait, why are you talking like you've known me for years when we haven't even had a conversation before? You talk about my behavioral change, but how do you even know who I am? Of course I do. You were a major villain in the novel, which was based on this world. But how the fuck do I tell you that? Sighing, I replied calmly, I've been keenly observing everyone since the day Academy started. By now, I can more or less tell what everyone is like. Taking a deep breath to process all the information I'd dumped on him, Quinn stroked his forehead aggressively. BDNVL.M. Of course it was a lot to take in. He was doubtful before, but now I confirmed it. The fact that I had manipulated our entire battle from the beginning, along with the claim that I successfully read him, analyzed his personality, and devised a plan to defeat him based on it long before he even made any move, left him speechless. However, what irked me was that there was not a speck of hesitation, denial, or fear on his face. Instead, with the calmest possible tone, he muttered, you are a monster. Chapter 97 Hidden Boss. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Monster. This wasn't the first time I heard someone calling me this word. I did terrible things in my past life, instigating fights between two friends, manipulating or gaslighting my girlfriend, and bullying a boy in high school to the point he jumped off the roof. Oh yeah, I never talk about that last part because I'm not proud of it. Thankfully, the boy survived the fall and only broke his leg. Hey, in my defense, that boy wasn't your innocent nerd. Type guy. Oh, no. He used to be a bully himself. I just tried to give him a taste of his own medicine. Or at least that's what I tell myself. I took it too far and pushed him to the point of committing suicide. The scary part is, I didn't feel guilt. Don't get me wrong. I felt remorse but not guilt. The scariest part is, I did it for fun. And instead of feeling ashamed of my actions when I heard he jumped off the roof, I was bummed out that I didn't get to see him jump. I know I'm not a good person. And there were many times when people found that out. Some people found out because I let them in, some just thought rationally about the situations I caused by manipulating them and traced the blame back to me, while others were more skeptical from the start. Either way, when they found out, they only had one thing to call me, monster. I'm sure that even Amelia, who has seen a glimpse of what I am capable of, thinks of me as some kind of a monster. Of course, I don't care about it. Unlike in my past life, I'm not doing what I'm doing for fun. My survival is on the line here, and I'll do whatever I can to survive. Even if it means sacrificing the whole world. Better them than me. I raised an eyebrow at Quinn's remark. You call me a monster? Look around. Who summoned all these shadow monsters? They're not monsters, Quinn corrected, his eyes scanning the creatures made of shadow surrounding us. And you know what I mean. Your genius is unsettling. Is that a compliment? I shot a smirk, but my expression quickly turned serious at the next moment. But anyway. Now I want you to seriously answer one of my questions. Why are you working with Kai? This is something that has been bothering me since I discovered Quinn's identity as the second traitor during the mock war. And earlier, I also saw a flicker of fear in his eyes when he mentioned Kai. In the novel, Kai was just a minor villain, meant to be a greater challenge than Lucas but smaller than Quinn. After all, Quinn was meant to be the last obstacle to stand between the heroes and the final boss of the story, the vampire monarch. So why was a future villain of Quinn's caliber scared of a minor character whose role was to serve as a stepping stone for the hero and his allies? Just when I was immersed in those puzzling thoughts, I saw a troubling look on Quinn's face. He knows about Shia, he said, stuttering. What? Wait, what? At this point in the story, no one should know about Quinn's necrophilic love life aside from me. Okay, I know I worded it weirdly, but that's not the point. How in the world Kai Wiseman, a throwable character, knows a fact that shouldn't be public at this point in the story? How did he? Before I could ask him that, Quinn began speaking again. And when I tried to confront him, Quinn averted his gaze and looked away. It was clear whatever he was trying to say was something that had been weighing on him. When I tried to confront him, he single-handedly defeated me and my legion of shadow slaves. My mind went blank for a couple of seconds when I heard that. Did Quinn just say that he utterly lost to a side character? He lost to someone other than Nero in a battle of strength. I mean, I defeated him too, but to do that, I had to severely nerf him beforehand. And even then, I barely managed to put him down. And he says that Kai Wiseman, who was only supposed to be a small-time character in the grand plot of the overall story, defeated him head-on with his Shadow Legion fighting alongside him. Fool! Releasing a long breath, I composed myself and aimed to approach this situation with a calm and logical mindset. It was crucial for me to systematically assess all potential variables, weigh countless probabilities, and meticulously examine this new information. In just under a second, several deductions appeared in my mind. Albeit all of them were baseless right now, I could see any of them being true. It's too early to conclude anything, but I think if Quinn is being truthful, then that could only mean two things. Either Kai is a transmigrator like me or he is a hidden boss. Personally, I am leaning more toward the second case. According to what I have seen of Quinn in this world and read about him in the novel, he isn't the type of person to fall to the dark side just to gain strength. I mean, I know Quinn was jealous of Nero's power and potential, but it was not to the extreme where he would have shaken hands with the vampires. Especially when it was the vampires who killed the love of his life. While reading the novel, I just thought that the author created a plot hole by messing up the continuity in Quinn's character personality to add an element of shock and surprise for the readers. But now that I have experienced such discontinuities myself, like the gap in Lucas' backstory, I don't think they were plot holes anymore. Quinn had never done some of the things he did in the story, unless someone was manipulating him, pulling his strings and making him dance to their will from behind the pages. A hidden boss. I see. The dots connect now. Many things that I discarded as plot holes while reading the novel make sense now. This changes my plans. I can't ignore Kai now as I had planned to do. I'll have to make my move soon. As I was in the middle of those thoughts while stroking my chin, Quinn called out to me. Anyway, slowly, a crooked grin formed on his face. I think it's time I bring you to Kai. Ha. I knew it. From the start, this was a trap. This guy had no intentions of switching sides. Chapter 98. Fear. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There was around a 5-step gap between Quinn and me. Swoosh. And in a split second, the necromancer covered that distance and stood in front of me. Theo, quek. Before I could activate my armor, Quinn grabbed my neck and started applying pressure to his grip, slowly choking the air out of me. Nah, he said. I can't let you use that armor of yours. It's bothersome. With his other hand, he placed the blade of his dagger on my throat. If you dare utter a word and try to summon your armor, I'll slit your throat. Normally, I would try to call it a bluff, but right now, the glint of evil madness in his eyes assured me that Quinn was actually ready to kill me. Raising my hands, I slowly nodded my head and displayed my surrender. Good, he replied. I called you here to get a hint about how Kai knew about Shia. But from the look on your face earlier, it seems like you also don't know that. I don't, I slowly spoke, barely shaking my head under Quinn's crippling grip. Is it possible that you too could have the same informant? He asked. Of course it's not possible. The information I have on this world and this maniac is taken from a novel. How in the hell would Kai have the same informant as me then? Maybe. I shrugged. I really don't know. That wasn't even a lie. I genuinely don't know how Kai got this information. Fine, he nodded in answer. You are useless to me. But if I present you to Kai, he will be delighted. As I thought. From the way he was talking, I don't think Quinn has told Kai about my identity yet. Which means I still have time to shut him up. Remember, whatever happens after now is on you. Quinn looked at me. A flicker of fear again flashed in his eyes. He will break you. Why are you so scared of him and not me? Is he really that strong? Is he really that smart? Smarter than me? Well, I guess I'll know that soon enough. But before that, for now, let's make one thing clear. You need to fear me, not him, Quinn. I let out a scoff before loudly yelling out, "Mana burst." Quinn widened his eyes, surprised that despite his clear warning, I was risking attacking him. Suddenly, tendrils of azure energy appeared around the area before the necromancer could react. Swish! A bright, blinding light flashed and a loud thunderous sound followed before a huge azure explosion occurred with Quinn and me at the epicenter. Boom! The force of the blast hurled the necromancer several meters back, causing him to hit the ground hard. After rolling a few times, he quickly regained his footing by getting up on his feet. As the dust settled, the ground beneath me showed visible cracks and a huge crater had been dug out. I stood tall in the center of the crater, staring intently at Quinn. I had chosen to use my gift instead of my armor. Why? Because my armor was a relic that would take at least a few seconds to activate. My gift, on the other hand, could be cast almost instantly, which was faster than even those who could use silent chanting to cast spells. Arg, groaning, Quinn took out another dagger from the belt on his waist and held it in a reverse grip. "You're done. Phoenix's Embra." Before I could summon my armor, one of the shadow slaves of Quinn, a giant black mantis made entirely of darkness, lunged at me with its scythe swinging down on me. Tisk. Clicking my tongue in frustration, I swirled to my right to dodge the incoming attack. Thwom. The scythe of the giant mantis hit the spot where I was standing as I jumped a few steps back away from the mantis to safety. Quiish. But to my surprise, a sharp sound akin to a blade cutting into the air behind me fell in my ears. Spurt. Before I could process what was happening or determine my next move, a searing pain coursed through my body. Something had pierced my back. Arg, as a muffled cry of pain escaped my lips, I realized that the necromancer had already snuck up on me and plunged his dagger into my back. But when? When did he sneak up on me? I couldn't even see his movements. Was he that fast? Right now, with no sedatives present in his system to impede his mind and body movements, Quinn was coming at me with all his strength. Ah! Quinn murmured with ecstasy. I've been anticipating this sensation. The feeling of slicing through your flesh and spilling your blood. You see now. You're not as invincible as you thought. Despite the pain throbbing through my body, I clenched my teeth in frustration and acted quickly. Click. Cling. With two quick flicks of my right hand wrist, a hidden blade sprang out from under my sleeve. Quinn, who had already anticipated my move, twisted his blade, which was still plunged into my back, before pulling it out and stepping back. Argha. I cried out in agony but didn't let the pain stop me. Because if I stop here, then I'm as good as dead anyway. I swiftly twirled to my left to turn around. Using the momentum I gained from the spin to thrust my right hand forward at Quinn, I aimed to impale the necromancer in the chest with my now not so hidden blade. But I wasn't quick enough. Quinn lifted up his dagger and blocked my hidden blade with no effort at all. Clang. Sparks flew and a sharp sound of metal clashing against metal resounded through the area. I was about to try to summon my armor again, however. Thwack. Quawa. Before I could do so, a mana-enforced kick landed flat on my stomach. Air gushed out of my lungs and I fell to my knees while violently coughing up blood. Weakly, I raised my hands and faced my palm at the black-haired boy. Ignis Rado. Thwack. I tried chanting the fireball spell but Quinn quickly sped up to me and landed a roundhouse kick at my chin, making me sideways on the ground. Arg. From the force of the kick landing on my chin, I momentarily blacked out. Vision slowly returned, but I had no strength in me to get up. Damn it, he was strong. I didn't even get the chance to fight back. You see now, a cold voice rang in my ears as I saw Quinn walking to me through the bottle glass blur in my eyes. This is the difference between you and you, Quinn said, squatting down. He grabbed me by the hair and lifted my head up to match his gaze. I tried to break free but I still hadn't recovered enough to move yet. You may be smart, but you can't defeat strength with intelligence, he spat with a snarl. You can't defeat me in a fair fight. You should have brought someone to help you. But I guess you never expected this meeting to be a trap, huh? You became overconfident after beating me with your cheap tricks. This is the difference between Kai and you. He stays 2 steps ahead of everyone all the time. When you think you have won, it only turns out to be something he had planned all along. That's why he's dangerous, and you are not. That's why I'm cautious of him and not you. Thwack. Finishing what he had to say, Quinn thrashed a fist into my face. Now, stay down until I call Kai. Cutting him off, I weakly parted my lips and let out a trembling voice, why you're right. I should have brought someone to help me. I can't defeat you alone. This meeting was a trap. Why didn't I think of this? Quinn frowned as he looked at me. He was about to say something when. Swoosh. Ha. Thruck. Arg. Suddenly a glowing white arrow whistled through the air and stabbed Quinn in the back. Oh, wait. My lips curled up into a smirk, my voice slowly regaining more clarity and strength returning to my body as I said, I did think of this. Letting go of my hair, Quinn straightened his body and turned around to look at the person who shot that arrow. Tisk. In the distance, he saw a black-haired girl with forest green eyes disdainfully matching his gaze. With an irritated look in his eyes, Quinn took out the arrow on his back and broke it. Of course, he didn't fail to notice that it was the very same light-enchanted arrow that Lucas used in the battle against him. It was then he realized I had a plan all along. I knew this was a trap. Quickly the girl knocked another arrow on her bow and stretched the bowstring back in an arc. Pointless. Quinn yelled as Amelia shot another arrow at him. Swoosh. The arrow traveled through the air and reached Quinn in an instant, but the necromancer merely swung his dagger and broke the mana-infused arrow with no effort at all. Get her. Quinn yelled, and all his shadow creatures quickly started rushing at Amelia. But just then, he sensed someone behind him. He turned around only to see me up on my feet already. Tisk, just stay down. Now you see how frustrating it is. I replied and summoned a bow along with my last remaining, null attribute light arrow. Fine then, Quinn cocked his head slightly and an ominous aura suddenly enveloped his body. Seeing that, I quickly readied to shoot my arrow too. My null attribute light arrow can dispel a low-level dark magic spell. It can also deal a great amount of damage to someone with a dark elemental affinity. Since Quinn was already hit by one of those earlier, I knew he would be in a lot of pain right now. But I also know I can't hit him with this arrow head-on like this. He's too fast for that. If only I could stop him for even a split second. Heh, a bloody smirk formed on my face. Quinn bent his knees slightly and took a low stance. To defeat me, all he has to do is dodge my arrow once and close the distance. After that, I would be finished. A glint of madness flashed in my eyes and I loosened the grip on my bowstring. Time seemed to have slowed down as my arrow shot forward in slow motion. Quinn tensed his calf muscles, about to move to the side to dodge my arrow. Right at that moment, I yelled out, "Activate." As if waiting for that cue, 5 tiny orbs of light lit up from below the ground under Quinn's feet in a circle. Quinn's eyes widened in horror as he recalled something like this happening before. Kaish. Thun. A bright light blanketed Quinn's vision, blinding him for a split second and rendering him stunned, unable to move. Sprut. And that was all the time I needed for my glowing white arrow to reach him, stabbing him directly in the chest. Chapter 99 Despair, 1, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Cook. Auk. Violently coughing up blood, Quinn fell on one knee. Cruck. He pressed one of his hands against his chest and broke the glowing white arrow sticking out of him with another. However, getting shot with 2, null attribute light arrow, had already worn him down. Like poison taking effect on his body, Quinn felt a burning pain shot through his veins. Light cut through the darkness. The null attribute effect from my arrow was really hurting Quinn, who had the darkness affinity. Even his dark magic spell, necromancy, which was constantly casting was now dispelled since he didn't have enough strength to keep supplying his shadow slaves with mana. Shoo, the creatures made of darkness who were rushing at Amelia instantly disinterested and vanished into shadows. Ha. Ha. Meanwhile, right before me, Quinn was gasping for air and circulating mana throughout his body to regain some strength. I could see the pain and rage in his eyes. Ha. He should have given me this look of agony and suffering before, and maybe then I would have spared him some mercy. However, this is not enough. Did you know, in my family, I mean, in the Morningstar household, after a child awakens their mana core, they have to tame these canine mana beasts called wind wolves. The process of taming, according to Lucas Memories, is simple. You just make the difference in power between you and the beast you wish to tame clear from the start. Establishing a clear power differential from the outset ensures that even if the beast becomes much stronger and more ferocious than you over the years, it will remain obedient and never disobey you. So what do I need to do here to make Quinn submit to me? I need to assert dominance over him and make the difference between our power clear. I need to show him despair. I need to tell him that he can't defeat me. Although I'm much weaker than him currently, I have a hidden ace up my sleeve ready to play. Leering pleasantly, I mumbled in a soft yet vicious tone, "Phoenix's embrace." Quash! In a flash, a searing blaze consumed every inch of my being, painting me in a brilliant scarlet hue, and a pair of wings made entirely of flames appeared on my back. The ruby embedded in my chest intensified in luminosity, casting a fiery glow that pierced through the Merlot flames engulfing my body and burning up the shirt I was wearing to ash. Then, a stunning armor of gleaming gold and crimson materialized over my upper torso, and the flaming wings on my back extinguished. Phoenix's embrace. The Knight of the Starlight's gift has been used in the making of Indestructible armor, which is crafted by a skilled dwarven blacksmith. When attacked with magic spells or physical objects, the armor can reduce the strength of the attack to 1/10 of its original power, ensuring the user's protection. Once shed, the armor provides a significant boost in all stats and grants an extra life to the wearer. The armor can be summoned again, provided the user does not lose the additional life. KRTZZ. Through the crackle of embers, I walked over to Quinn, who had managed to get up on his feet. "Discard!" I yelled as I was just a few steps away from the necromancer. Cling! The armor on my body shattered and blew up into scarlet flames, leaving me without its invincible defense. But instantly, a potent crimson aura erupted and engulfed my body, causing an electric surge of energy to ripple through me and setting every hair on my body on edge. The sheer intensity of the experience was quite overwhelming. BL.net. I could feel the raw power coursing through my veins like a raging inferno, ready to be unleashed at a moment's notice. Attack 332, plus 300, Endurance 318, plus 300, Speed 339, plus 300, Stamina 334, plus 300, Mana Capacity 3000, plus 2500, Mana Core Rank Silver 2, Iron 2, in the novel, Nero possessed the relic, Phoenix's Embrace. However, he almost never used it for defensive purposes. He had another, similar relic for that which he got from Liz after the mock war. Then what did he use it for? He used it to boost his stats. One of the main features of Phoenix's Embrace was to provide an extra life and a massive boost in the user's stats if they shed the armor. It's called Embrace Discard. Embrace Discard could grant the user an extra life and a massive boost in stats upon shedding the armor. It acted as a limit breaker, allowing the user to surpass their natural limits and unlock a power beyond their natural potential. For instance, if someone had reached their maximum potential at the Platinum rank, using Embrace Discard would boost their stats to the Immortal rank. This feature is particularly useful when one reaches the higher Mana Core ranks, where the difference between each rank is a significant 1000 stat points. Currently, my physical stats were only boosted by 300 points while my mana capacity got an increment of 2000, and I had merely entered the second level of the Silver rank. Nevertheless, I was momentarily stronger than Quinn, who was at Bronze 3. Right now. With this, I can defeat him. No, I will defeat him especially when he is unable to use the necromancy spell or any other dark magic spells after being hit by 2 null attribute light arrows. Despite Quinn having years of battle experience over me, the odds are not in his favor. Right now, I aim to make it clear to him that in the future opposing me would be pointless. Quish. As soon as I came near him, Quinn immediately threw a straight at me with his right hand and attacked first. His fist was enveloped in a dark, ominous violet aura and it sped toward me at breakneck speed. I, however, effortlessly ducked under his speeding arm while sidestepping to my left. Without giving him a chance to react, I threw a straight of my own and hit him dead in the chest. Thwack. I then stepped forward and willed mana into my right arm, enforcing it to an inhumane extent and hitting him with an uppercut under his chin. Thwack. Cuck. Disoriented from the impact, Quinn let out a groan as he stumbled back. To catch him before he could regain his footing, I took a step forward again but... Thack. Quinn slammed his head against mine. To his horror, it did nothing to me. Chapter 100 Despair, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. 5 minutes went by. One after another, I threw a punch from the left, followed by a kick from the right, and finished with a knee thrust towards Quinn's abdomen. However, he skillfully predicted my movements and dodged them with ease, ready to make his own counters. Despite his agility, Quinn couldn't seem to gain the upper hand, and every so often, he would slip up and fail to dodge my attacks. This was one of those times. I balled my left fist, enforced it with mana and threw it straight at Quinn's solar plexus. However, he must have anticipated that move since he quickly twisted his body to the side and evaded it. Unbeknownst to him, it was a feint. If he had been in top condition, he would have seen it. I straightened my right palm like a sword and thrust it at Quinn's throat, hitting him directly in his Adam's apple. Thwack. Cook. Thwum. Immediately, with a small burst of energy, I connected a solid kick across Quinn's face, causing a contained explosion to erupt that amplified the pain he felt. Ka. I didn't stop there, however. I grabbed his head by his hair and continued to mercilessly thrash punches after punches at his face, giving him no time to recover. Thwack. Thwum. Thwack. Thwum. I continued to use mana burst at a small stage whenever I landed a hit which caused small eruptions to occur every time my attacks connected. It increased the damage and made it harder for Quinn to defend himself, concussing him with every hit. In no time, Quinn's body went limp and his eyes became unfocused. I let go of his hair and let him fall back flat on the ground. Without a shred of mercy, I mounted on top of him and pinned his body down. His face was bruised and his eyes swollen. I think I broke one or two of his teeth too. This still wasn't enough, however. I needed to make sure he would never even think about going against me in the future. Ignis Rotim. I chanted in High Elven and raised my hand. On top of my palm, a fireball quickly materialized. I poured mana into it and the color of the bright red fireball changed to blue. I brought down my hand and Quinn widened his eyes. He crossed his hands over his face to defend his vitals but I hit him in his chest. Boom. Qua. The fireball exploded as soon as it connected with his chest, causing Quinn to violently cough up blood. He summoned a dagger from his smart bracelet into his right hand. Mustering up what little strength was left in his body, Quinn swung it at face. But before he could deal a hit, I grabbed his hand. You're still resisting. I tightened the grip on his hand. Stay down, Quinn. Submit and I might show you mercy. As I said that, I kept tightening my grip on his hand until it made a crackling sound. Crack. Arg, through gritted teeth, Quinn let out a scream as the bones in his hand cracked. You see now, Quinn. I said while raising my hand again and casting the fireball chant. It's me who you should fear. Remember this moment, Quinn. Remember when you were below me, quivering in fear as I kept striking you. Engrave this into your soul. Quinn widened his eyes in terror again as he saw me bringing my hand down to hit him with a blue fireball again. Boom. Of course, I didn't stop there. I kept spamming fireballs. Explosions erupted again and again as the fireball struck his chest. Of course I didn't forget to hit him in the face. What? I detest handsome guys. Only I should be allowed to possess a handsome face. Boom. Boom. Kaboom. L. Lucas. I only stopped spamming fireballs when I heard an alluring, almost soothing voice ring in my ears. I sighed and turned around to look at Amelia. She had a concerned look on her face. I raised an eyebrow and asked, "What?" He'll die at this rate," she replied in a worried tone. "What?" I replied absurdly. "This guy. Nah. Now way. You have no idea how strong he is. I don't even think he's capable of dying." "What? Why re you pointing at him?" With a finger pointed at Quinn's body being pinned down below me, Amelia responded, "Just look at him." As my eyebrows furrowed into a frown, I turned my attention to Quinn. And I was left speechless. His eyes were rolled back as a terrified look was plastered on Quinn's face. His mouth was agape, quivering, and clothes were burnt to rags. Only wounds and bruises were visible on his body. I won't lie, but he truly seemed to be on the verge of death. Oh boy. I think I went a little overboard. But all I did was give him a little beating and strike him with some exploding balls of fire. Albeit my physical stats were significantly higher than him, so every punch I threw at him must have hurt like hell. Not to mention, I poured a lot of mana in the fireballs I struck him with too. Well, it's his fault anyway. Quinn thought he had lured me into a trap, but it was actually the other way around. If instead of underestimating me, he'd used his full strength to beat me from the start, I don't think I would have stood a chance. If he had even fought me using all his summoned shadow slaves, he could have easily subdued me. But as I said, in the end, thinking that he could easily defeat me was his biggest mistake. After witnessing all that I could do during our battle in the mock war, he should have been more cautious of me. But anyway, everything went according to my plan more or less. I made him think that he had won until the very last moment. I made him think he was the one hunting me. But just when everything was about to go his way, I showed him that he could never win again. I let him know that it was me who was hunting him. I showed him despair. Now every time when he would even think about going against me in the future, he'll remember this moment. He'll remember how futile it is to fight me. Sighing again, I got up and threw a small glass bottle. "Amelia. That's a healing potion. Apply this on him."